At the beginning of the story, a mysterious event suddenly strikes the entire world, wiping out nearly all of humanity within moments. It happens so fast that people collapse wherever they are, without warning. But in a small American town, I somehow survive. Slowly, I begin to believe that I may be the last person left alive on Earth. Even in complete isolation, I build a peaceful routine for myself. I continue living inside the same library where I worked before everything ended. Every day, I carefully organize and protect the books so they don't decay or get ruined. For food, I collect supplies from abandoned supermarkets, and I also start fishing because while humans and most animals are gone, fish still remain alive, becoming my main source of survival. I create a strict system for clearing houses around the city. Each day, I choose one home, cover my face to avoid dust or possible disease, and search inside for anything useful like batteries, fuel, medicine, or tools. Whenever I find books, I carry them back to the library. If I discover a dead body, I wrap it respectfully in a bedsheet and bury it using an excavator. Once a house is finished, I paint an X mark outside and update it on my city map so I never return there again. One night, after watching an old movie before bed, I'm suddenly awakened by a loud explosion outside. When I rush to the window, fireworks are bursting across the sky. In that moment, I realize that maybe I'm not alone after all. The next morning, I head toward the city to investigate. There, I find a crashed car beside the road. Inside is an unconscious woman named Grace, clearly drunk and injured. Looking around the vehicle, I realize she was likely the one who launched the fireworks. I also notice a gun lying nearby. Hours later, Grace wakes up inside a strange, locked house with a bandage around her head. Panicked and confused, she tries to open the door while I question her from outside. She explains that she hasn't seen another living person either and has no idea why she survived. Hearing her story reminds me of my own experience after the catastrophe. She also says the gun wasn't hers and that she only kept it for protection. I don't want her staying with me, so I prepare a car and tell her I'll release her if she promises to wait and count to 100 before stepping outside. But the moment I unlock the door, she breaks her promise and immediately follows me out, causing me to panic. I hand her the keys and leave while she desperately begs not to be abandoned again. Still, Grace refuses to leave. She keeps following me through town, insisting she could help clean houses and that two people could survive better together. But to me, there is no future outside the city. I coldly tell her I don't need help, yet she continues walking beside me anyway. Her presence slowly fills my silent world with noise and warmth that had been missing for years. I share meals with her, but make her sit separately, avoiding personal conversations. I refuse to discuss how the world ended or what caused it. One evening, after she pushes too far, I finally admit that even before the disaster, I already felt completely alone inside. Eventually, Grace decides to leave, but the moment she starts the car, I realize I don't want her gone. I stop her and awkwardly offer to let her stay for a temporary trial period. From then on, Grace joins me while clearing homes and begins learning my strange system. She discovers that I remember every dead resident in town by name, including which books they borrowed and what fines they still owed at the library. When it comes time to bury bodies, Grace accuses me of acting emotionless because I never say anything for the dead. She tells me that whenever she finds someone's body, she holds her breath for 10 seconds to honor them. Just to satisfy her, I begin doing the same. Although her endless talking, loud music, and chaotic behavior sometimes irritate me, I never truly try to stop her. One afternoon, Grace enters my office while I'm away and discovers hundreds of photographs taken from different homes, all carefully organized into detailed files. The collection deeply unsettles her. To clear her mind, she rides off on a bicycle through the empty streets. While exploring, she hears noises coming from inside a house and is shocked to discover a living dog. She brings it back to the library and insists on keeping it. I'm clearly unhappy about the idea, but eventually we simply begin calling the animal Dog. Over time, Grace and I grow closer. We begin eating together, sharing stories from our past lives. Grace talks about childhood memories and the goldfish she once owned, though she always keeps her hair down to hide a strange mark on the back of her neck. One day, the dog tears apart one of my books, making me furious. I take the dog outside myself, but it suddenly bites my hand. Grace quickly cleans and stitches the wound, but from that moment, resentment toward the animal quietly begins growing inside me. Watching Grace shower it with affection only worsens those feelings. The next morning, the dog disappears. Grace can't understand how because she had tied it securely. After searching through the city, I finally admit that I untied it during the night so it could relieve itself. But Grace instantly realizes I'm lying and that I intentionally let it escape. Back at the library, she drinks heavily and angrily throws my photo files across the room. She accuses me of seeing people as objects instead of human beings. She reminds me that even before the apocalypse, I had already been bitter and emotionally distant while she once lived happily surrounded by others. Hearing this completely breaks me. The following day, to apologize, I show her my hidden greenhouse and allow her to help care for the plants. I also officially end her trial period and tell her we are now equal partners. Together, we settle into a quieter life. Grace helps with cooking, and one day she finds walkie-talkies so we can communicate while apart. Around the same time, she accidentally discovers a house missing from my marked map. Furious, I stop her from entering. She eventually realizes it's my old family home. When she asks why I avoided it, I confess that the first dead bodies I ever saw after the disaster were school children. Finally, with Grace beside me, I agree to clean my own house. Burying my mother is far more painful than burying strangers. This time, while saying goodbye, I hold my breath much longer than 10 seconds. For the first time since the world ended, I truly allow myself to feel grief. Afterwards, Grace admits she has been hiding something from me, but instead of explaining, she kisses me and puts me to sleep. The next morning, I wake up inside the same locked house where I first brought her. Confused, I grab my gun and head downstairs, only to find Grace calmly eating breakfast with two strangers named Violet and Patrick. They introduce them as her parents, though her voice sounds uncertain. They explain that in California, thousands of survivors now live together in organized communities. According to them, I never discovered this because I isolated myself instead of searching beyond my city. They claim there were signs along the roads the entire time. Their words fill me with anger because Grace made me believe we were alone in the world. Ignoring their explanations, I storm out while Grace desperately follows, admitting Violet and Patrick aren't actually her real parents. They were assigned to her by the community. Back at the library, Patrick later visits me and explains that their settlement needs people like me. He mentions doctors there have developed advanced methods to help survivors cope with trauma and reshape painful memories. Before leaving, he writes down an address in one of my books in case I ever change my mind. Soon after, Grace leaves with Violet and Patrick. As she drives away, she silently stares at the strange marks on their necks and wonders what kind of future is waiting for her in California. I attempt returning to my old routines, but now the silence feels unbearable. The loneliness that once comforted me begins destroying me from within. In frustration, I smash objects inside my old home, while memories of Grace haunt my mind. The next morning, I pull out every photograph file and stare at each face, one by one. I remember their names, personalities, jobs, and favorite books. In that moment, I realized I was never truly alone. And now, I can no longer live this way. Desperate, I search through the library for Patrick's address, throwing books around carelessly for the first time in years. The journey to California is long and exhausting, but I continue forward no matter what. Whenever roads are blocked or vehicles fail, I simply find another way. Eventually, I reach California and become overwhelmed by the sight of a functioning city full of lights, movement, and living people. After locating Grace's home, I wait until nightfall before sneaking inside with my gun. But when I finally reach Grace's room, the sight horrifies me. She is connected to a machine designed to erase grief, trauma, and painful memories from people's minds. I quickly realize the entire community undergoes this process so they can live in artificial happiness without emotional suffering. Without hesitation, I disconnect Grace from the machine and apologize for failing to understand sooner. We attempt escaping together, but Patrick suddenly blocks our path, insisting their system is humanity's best hope. Before I can react, Grace grabs the gun from my hand and shoots him. Moments later, Violet arrives and stares at Patrick's dead body with absolutely no emotion. Instead of panic or sadness, she calmly searches for cleaning supplies to wipe away the blood like it's nothing more than spilled paint. That's when I fully understand the truth. The machines haven't healed these people, they've emptied them. Shaken to my core, I leave the city with Grace. As we walk away, we pass countless smiling people living artificial lives without pain, grief, or memory. Out on the open road, Grace quietly admits she feels no regret for killing Patrick. There's no fear in her eyes anymore, only peace. I reassure her that we'll figure things out together. And so, the two of us drive toward an uncertain future, ready to begin a new life where pain still exists, but memories and emotions remain real.